in a palace just outside of Rome that was built by the Spanish King Philip IV. In the construction of this royal palace, just outside of Madrid, we walk in and we see these big ornate halls and this space decorated with large paintings. In one of these rooms, we enter and we call this room, this big lavish room that we walk into in this palace, the Hall of Realms. When we walk into this room, we see this large painting of this Spanish king's military victories. One of these paintings that we see is the Surrender of Breda.
So the Surrender of Breda is a piece that depicts the Dutch and the Spanish, and they seem to be meeting together in the center, but there's a clear divide between the two, with the Dutch on the left and the Spanish on the right. And the composition is broken up by the vertical lines of the lances on both sides and the trees in the background. And our eye is drawn to the smoke that vanishes into the vanishing point, leading from the left up. Unlike a lot of Baroque paintings at the time, this piece does not include any classical or mythological symbols. It's very grounded in realism. It shows maybe an idealized version of this piece that they're coming to, but it does make it seem like Spain is very generous in their offering with the hand on the arm.
That's so true, and I think that's part of why this painting was commissioned. We also see in 1630, when this painting was commissioned by the King of Spain, Diego Velázquez, he was commissioned to make this painting in 1630, where we see this element of this king wanting to show his victories in a way where he's showing how gracious of a leader he is. Yes. I feel like almost in a way.
It's glorifying the Spanish power.
It definitely is. Mm-hmm. And so when we look at this commission, I think it's meant to show that of where he's off of his horse and he has his hand on this Dutchman's shoulder as he's handing over this key, and we see this element of the Spanish having this gracious power almost.
Mm-hmm. They seem to be generous, like I said earlier. I think this was very much to impress diplomats, to show the might, but also the conduct of their army. They're not brutes, They're very able to join sides with people when they need to.
That's very true. We see this as we have this moment of time that is very typical of the Baroque era, where we have this moment of time where everyone on the Spanish side is very orderly and, like you said, almost in a glorified manner of where showing this moment of peace that's being displayed in this moment of history, where there's no carnage of the horrors of war that they've just been through, but there's this moment of just peace and this impossible moment of everyone in this action of diplomacy in this era.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like a sigh of relief that you can see just glimpses of the violence that was happening in the background. The smoke from the horizon is from a fire, you can't avoid that, but everyone seems to be caught in this moment of finally it's over, we can get along again. And it does seem like almost a picture caught in time, because you see people on both sides almost looking towards the viewer as if we are standing in the picture with them.
That's so true. Almost kind of inviting us or questioning what side we want to be on, if we're on the king's side or on the Dutch side.
Exactly. Some people almost seem caught by surprise in the picture, as if they weren't quite expecting us to arrive and not sure what to think of us.
Almost questioning where we fought or where we started from or where we're ending. Mm-hmm. Almost contemplating where we would stand with the king to this day.
Mm-hmm. I think it definitely shows the prestige of Velázquez to be able to paint this painting as well. It shows his prestige as a court painter and the way he sought to elevate his status by sort of uplifting the culture of Spain with this.
I love how you mentioned that, because if you really go deep into the different details in the painting, you can see how shiny the king's armor is, or how fine the clothing on the Spanish side, and the flags, and the different cultural details of what they wear and how they present themselves, and the detail and how fine he shows that in his painting.
Velázquez definitely chose to make the Spanish look good in this painting. He didn't necessarily make the Dutch look worse, but he did make them seem in less fine clothing, less fine armor.
Younger, almost. Yes. Unknowing of what they were to do, and whereas the Spanish, they seem more wise in how they present themselves almost.
Yes. I feel like this piece is definitely, if you read into the history, it is definitely a propaganda piece. It is made to make the Spanish look good, and I think it does it well. The detail and the finery that you see on the right side and them meeting together shows this very peaceful conclusion that we're not sure definitely if that was as peaceful as it was, but it makes it look good.